Anyway, looks like somebody's here. In fact, here he is.
Here he is. Now
Here he
we are
is.
just in the
All right,
room.
so now we can get going. All right. So I'm just going to, I think I need to add him to the stream, and here he is. Okay, Monophist Bye. Huh? Welcome.
Yeah, he is here.
Is my voice clear?
Quiet.
Hello?
It's quiet. Ibn Rashid, can you just mute your mic for a moment, please?
Actually,
Yeah, what, brother?
Can you just mute your mic? People are hearing you more than me and the other gentleman. Your mic is really bad. Okay, so.
Oh, people can't hear me. Okay, 1 minute. Let me improve it.
If this doesn't improve, I'm going to ask somebody else to come in as a moderator. Although, to be honest, we don't need more.
so now you can hear me now?
That's better.
Hello?
Yeah, that's better. Yes.
Hello?
Hello?
But debunking your voice is slow. Please, you can use mic.
What do you mean slow?
Can you use?
What does that mean?
Your voice is slow.
Slow? I can't help how I speak. What do you mean? Do you mean quiet or?
Okay, 1 minute. Let me connect to me my earphones too. 1 minute, please.
Okay. If anybody's struggling to understand what I'm saying, please just put it in the comments and we can go from there. Low volume, he means. Okay. I'm just going to try and turn the volume up. I don't know how to do that, but he meant quiet. Okay. I mean, I can try and speak a little bit louder if that's better. But yeah, I'm not someone that really shouts, and it's quite awkward to be shouting. Voice is low. Okay. Well, I'm very near. Where's the mic on this? Can somebody tell me if this is better? Can you hear me better now? Okay. Am I loud? Am I too quiet? Is this better now?
Now fine.
That's okay, yeah?
Hello, am I audible now?
Okay, I can hear you.
Okay, no problem.
This is Monophist, yeah? Okay, sorry, I need to know who I'm speaking to. Yeah? Okay. All right. Are we going to get started with this debate, yeah?
Okay. First introduction. Yeah, so I have to give the introduction first now.
So you want to go first?
Okay.
Okay, you can go first.
I'm going. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Here is the debate between Mr. Debunking Islam and Monotheist Bhai. The debate is all about the total of 40 minutes. The first 20 minutes is for presentation for both, and the second is of 5 minutes for rebuttal mainly of evidences that they both gonna do, like from the hadith or the Quranic verses. And then the third is 10 minutes for both questions. They can ask questions for both 10 minutes each and one again. And then again fourth is for 5 minutes for conclusion is like the closure of this debate, which will be very peaceful and without any blasphemy and without any interruption between one and two. Like even if debunking Islam is speaking, the another one cannot interrupt. If one both of them, if any of one of you will go out of the topic, out of the foundation of the limits of this topic, like promoting slavery, I can interrupt. That is for moderating, and the rest of it is that it is okay. Sure. So who gonna speak first?
I don't mind. I can go first. You can go first. Up to you. You can choose. Do you want me to go first?
मोनितेश भाई बताइए कौन पहला जाएगा?
उन्हीं को करने दे दीजिए.
Okay, I'm going to go first. Let's just. I'm going to make that decision.
Yeah. Is slavery. Okay.
Okay. Your
थोड़ी
mic.
आवाज अटक गया.
It's hard to hear you right now. I'm going to start. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. People were saying that they can't hear me that well, which is difficult because I'm speaking fairly loudly, and I don't know. I've got people listening. They're saying it's okay, but some people are not. But anyway, I'm just going to. Okay. If everyone can mute their mic, I'm going to start. Okay. Okay. I'm going to start.
Starting your presentation? Starting your presentation or introduction?
I'm starting right now. So if everyone can mute their mic, I've got 20 minutes and I'm going to go now. Okay.
Okay.
I've put pretty much my speech on screen so everyone can hear me because I'm conscious people might not understand my accent. Anyway, I'm going to go now. My time starts right now. So everyone.
Where is moderator? Are you leave them? Hello?
Sorry?
Are you leave them?
Everybody's. The moderator's there. No, he's not there. He's gone. Let's just get this started. Okay? Okay, he's back. He's back. Right.
Sorry for my bad luck. Actually, the light has been cut off. The electricity. Now I am back with my own internet. No problem.
Okay,
Let's go.
moderator, you need to tell me when I can go, and I will start. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 3-2, and you have 20 minutes for your presentation. Okay.
Brilliant. Okay, I'm going now. Okay.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
topic of debate. If everyone can mute their mic so that everyone can hear me. Brilliant. Okay, the topic of debate is Islam and slavery. Okay, does Islam promote slavery and does it promote sex slavery? So, the world is told Islam came to end slavery. Okay, this is the claim that contradicts the truth. The birth of Islam caused the creation of the biggest, most brutal, longest running slave trade the world has ever seen. That's the true example of Allah's command and Muhammad's actions. In 1400 years, there was never an abolitionist movement in Islam. Islam's slavery only ended because the West made the Islamic world stop. This is because Islam promotes slavery. It does nothing to end it, and you're going to see that right now. Okay, from the Quran. In Quran 867, Allah makes it clear Muslims can take slaves, but only after slaughtering many non-Muslims. It's not for a prophet to have captives of war until he inflicts a massacre in the land. In the very next verse, Quran 868, Allah says taking slaves would normally lead to a great punishment, but now there will be no punishment because he's allowing it. So Allah's actually acknowledging right there slavery is wrong. Here it is. If not for a decree from Allah that preceded, you would have been touched for what you took by a great punishment. The next verse. Allah now tells the Muslims to enjoy their slaves and war booty. Quran 869. Now enjoy what ye took in war, lawful and good, but fear Allah, for Allah is oft forgiving. Ibn Kathir's Tafsir shows what this means. In the preserved book that war spoils and prisoners of war will be made allowable for you, would have touched you for what you took because of the captives of a severe torment. Allah now says, so enjoy what you have got of the war booty, lawful and good.
Can you zoom the screen? Can you zoom the screen? Can you zoom the screen?
No. Sorry, you're not meant to interrupt, all right? I can't. Can you not see it at all?
Brother, you can also zoom the screen too. You can also zoom the screen too. You can also screen the zoom, please.
Yeah, this is
anybody can screen the zoom.
This is why we needed to meet before we started the debate so we could get these issues out of the way. You should have told me that you couldn't see it before I started. Is that better?
Yeah. I can zoom it too, brother. You can zoom it na. Monitors by zoom हो रहा है ना?
Okay, I can't.
Yes.
I can't.
हाँ बस ठीक है. You can go, brother. Debunking Islam, you can go.
Everything that I'm saying is read from the Quran. I'm not misquoting. Everything is referenced. There is no lies here, and I'll back anything up I say. I don't want this taken out of my time because you've just interrupted me. In Ibn Kathir's Tafsir for 869, he quotes this hadith where Muhammad boasts about how he was given the right to take war booty, something no other prophet was given. So taking slaves is seen as a reward. Sahih Bukhari 438. Allah's messenger says, I've been given 5 things which were not given to any amongst the prophets before. The booty has been made halal for me. So Allah's not only allowing Muhammad to take slaves, which would normally lead to sin and severe punishment, he's now making it a privilege to be enjoyed. The context places the emphasis on the captives and no other aspect of war booty. This destroys any claim that taking slaves was a humanitarian act, because Allah's making slave taking to be attractive. Quran 474 also says Muslims are permitted to take slaves. Now, some Muslims use this verse to try and support their argument that Islam is against slavery. I'll demolish that in a couple of minutes. So when you meet those who disbelieve, strike their necks until you have inflicted slaughter upon them, then secure their bonds and either confer favor afterwards or ransom them until the war lays down its burden. Okay, so remember what I just said. Allah saying, take slaves, secure their bond, either confer favor or ransom them until the war lays down its burden. Now you'll find out what that actually means. Okay, Ibn Kathir on 474. It appears that this ayah was revealed after the Battle of Badr. At that time, Allah reproached the believers for sparing many of the enemies and holding too many captives in order to take ransom from them. Allah said, you desire the commodities of this world, but Allah desires for you the hereafter. So what's happening is Muslims recognize that taking slaves is very lucrative. It's making them money. It's a source of wealth. And so Allah is saying, no, stop taking so many slaves. Kill more. Kill more non-Muslims before you take slaves. Here's Al-Tabri of 474. Until the burden of war stops is referring to when there's an end to polytheism and disbelief in Allah. Okay. At the bottom there, you can see on the authority of Qatada, he's saying until the war lays down its burden means so there is no more polytheism. Ibn Kathir, in his tafsir on 474, quotes Mujahid, who believes this war is disbelief, which, according to the narrative, ends when Jesus returns. Mujahid said, until Isa descends. In Islamic theology, Jesus will descend and the world will become under the banner of Islam. And so this war that Muslims try to say you can only take slaves in actually refers to the taking of a war on non-Muslims because of their disbelief. So the disbelief is the war. It isn't Muslims attacking non-Muslims attacking Muslims. It's non-Muslims not believing in Allah. That's the war. Ibn Kathir, slaves are only to be freed if it benefits the Muslims. The majority of the scholars say that the matter of prisoners of war is up to the Imam. If he decides he can have them killed, such as in the case of Banu Qurayza, if he decides he can accept a ransom from them, as in the case of the prisoners of Badr. The reliance of the traveller confirms slaves are to be freed only if it benefits the Muslims. When an adult male is taken captive, the caliph considers the interests of Islam and the Muslims and decides between the prisoner's death, slavery, releasing without paying anything, or ransoming in exchange for money, or a Muslim captive. The scholar Sheikh al-Shankiti agrees. He says this: Kuffar may become slaves unless the Imam chooses to let them go or to ransom them if that serves the interests of the Muslims. Okay, so it's very clear. The taking of slaves and the possible freeing of them is not an act of mercy. It's always for the benefit of the Muslims. Quran 6:16-7:1. Allah has made some people free and others as slaves, while making it clear the free man and the slave are not equal. Here it is. Allah has favored some of you over others in provision, but those who were favored would not hand over their provision to those whom their right hands possess, so they would be equal. Ibn Kathir's tafsir. You would not accept for your servant to have an equal share in your wealth. Do you have partners among those whom your right hands possess to share as equals? What I'm saying here, and what Allah is saying very clearly, slaves and free men are not equal. This is important to bear in mind because of some of the excuses I'm expecting to come forward about Muslims and slaves being brothers. They're not brothers, they're not equal. Similarly, in Quran 16:7-5, Allah compares the obedience of the Muslims to God with the obedience of a slave. Allah presents an example, a slave who is owned and unable to do a thing. Can they be equal? Remember what Allah just said, the slave who cannot do a thing. So Allah's clear, to be a slave is to be in a state of unequal inferiority, okay? It's not about being a brother, you're unequal. Allah's acknowledging it. Now let's move over to the hadiths. The hadiths expand upon the rules of slavery through Muhammad. Allah permits the buying, selling, and use of slaves as personal property. Here's Sahih Bukhari 947. Muhammad and his army, Allah's messenger, vanquished them by force, and their warriors were killed, the children and women taken as captives. Children and women taken as captives. Slaves are bought as commodity and sold as commodity, just like animals. Sunan Nisa 4184. A man buys a slave or a slave girl or rents an animal and then says to the person from whom he bought the slave or leased animal, I'll give you a dinar, which is money, or whatever, on the condition that if I actually take the goods. Sahih Bukhari 1463. There's no zakat either on a horse or a slave. The slave is no different to a horse. It's a piece of property to be used. Okay, it's a commodity. So there's no tax on it. It can be bought and sold like an animal. They're not being treated as human beings. So when Muslims say respect, how is being treated like a horse or an animal dignified? Let's move on. Muhammad bought and sold slaves himself, and this is the perfect example for mankind. He bought them to suit his needs and desires. In Sunan Nisa 4184, the Prophet said, sell him to me, and he bought him for 2 black slaves. So Muhammad had black slaves. This is interesting because he actually traded 1 Arab slave for 2 black slaves. That's racist. In Islam, black people have less worth than Arabs. That's a different topic for a different debate, but there it is in black and white. The spoils of war are such a great reward from Allah that if a Muslim doesn't get his fair share of booty on earth, he will be compensated in heaven. Sahih Muslim 1906a. A troop of soldiers who fight in the way of Allah and get their share of the booty receive in advance 2/3 their reward in the hereafter, and only 1/3 will remain. If they do not receive any booty, they will get their reward. Again, remember this, slaves are reward from the spoils of war, the reward for fighting in the name of Islam. It's not about mercy. Here, Allah rewards slaves who obey their master and accept their slavery. Sahih Bukhari 3446. And if a slave fears his Lord and obeys his master, he too will get a reward. Allah wants the slave to accept being a slave and to obey his master. He also punishes the slaves who don't accept being a slave and who runs away from their master. Sunan Nisa 4049. The Messenger of Allah said, if a slave runs away, no salah will be accepted from him until he goes back to his master. In this hadith, we see how slaves are treated as objects. This is the next hadith. They can be returned if they have defects, literally like an object. So this is from the Muwatta Malik. And I haven't actually got the number there, but if you require it, I'm very happy to send it to you. It clearly is not invented by me. If the defect which occurred to the slave in his possession has harmed him, then he has a choice. He can have the price of the slave reduced consummate with the defect he bought him with, or he can pay compensation for the defect which the slave suffered in his possession. Again, does that sound humane? Do they sound like objects, or do they sound like they've been treated like humans? It's pretty obvious. Now let's move over to sex slavery. And I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to speed up a little bit. Okay, sex slavery in Islam. So in Quran 3350, Allah gives permission to take females as war booty. So in Islam, once again, humans are spoils of war, a reward. This is very different to saying care for them and provide them shelter. So here's the verse. We know what we have appointed for them as to their wives, and the captives whom their right hands possess. Ibn Kathir's tafsir, we've enjoined upon them means concerning the limiting of their number to for free women, and whatever they wish of slave girls. By right of possession through war, she becomes his milk al-yamin. Ownership by the right hand is what that means. This is a contract, a lawful contract, giving the Muslim complete control, ownership of the female captive, and it makes sex lawful for the master. Her consent is never mentioned. Allah now allows sex with female slaves. So in Quran 2356, Allah clarifies that sex with female captives is lawful. Only sex is specifically mentioned, establishing the purpose of enslaving women to be for sexual recreation. 23:5-6. Who abstain from sex except those joined to them in the marriage bond or the captives whom their right hands possess. Ibn Kathir, yet again. Allah's made permissible for them all the possessions from the captives. So scholars point out that the master is allowed to have sex with his slave, highlighting sex as the main purpose of ownership. Here is Muhammad Shafi. Satisfying one's desire with someone other than one's wife or a lawfully acquired slave girl is strictly forbidden. Ibn Qudamah, the master-slave bond entails deeming it lawful for the slave owner to benefit from the service of his slave woman and to be intimate with her. Okay. Allah makes married slaves halal. Okay, so during the Battle of Ortus, Muslims captured females and want sex with them, but they worry because they're married. Sahih Muslim 1456d. They took captives on the day of Ortus who had husbands. They were afraid to have sexual intercourse with them when this verse was revealed. So Allah reveals 424, saying that married women are lawful. It doesn't say consent is required. And prohibited to you are all married women except those your right hands possess. There it is. Married women don't have sex with strangers who just killed her sons, killed her husbands, or forced her into slavery. If this female has a choice, it will be no. So the claim that these girls consented has no proof. It's against all reason. These women have just seen the most unimaginable things, and it's impossible that they would want to have sex with the men that did it. Here's the Hidya confirming sex is the main role of a female slave. A man may gratify his passion with his female slave in whatever way he pleases. Al-Ghazali, a very famous scholar. If a man purchases a slave girl, the purchase contract includes his right to have sex with her. This contract is primarily to own her and secondarily to enjoy her sexually. Remember, everything is referenced here. Caliph Umar's son inspects a slave with clear sexual intent. Okay, Ibn Umar narrated that when he wanted to buy a slave girl, he would place his hands on her buttocks and between her thighs and sometimes probe her legs. Ibn Mufli, his explanation for physically inspecting the slave, confirms sex is the main purpose for taking a female slave. And this is what he says. This is because necessity calls for it, because viewing what is described achieves its purpose. This is because she's desired for enjoyment and other purposes of trade. Okay? It's all about sex. At the bottom there is a Muslim traveler who noted in a book that he saw women being bought, sold, physically handled, and used for men to relieve their lust. You can see it there. Take a screenshot. I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to move on. In this hadith, Muslims capture women and children. A companion receives a beautiful girl captive as a prize. Then Muhammad wants her. The Muslim makes it clear he hasn't yet had sex with her before he hands her over to Muhammad. This underlines the fact Muslims are taking these girls primarily for the purpose of sex from that slave. Okay, and here it is. Among them was, this is Sahih Muslim, by the way. Among them was a woman from Banu Fariza. She was wearing a leather coat with her. With her was her daughter, who was one of the prettiest girls in Arabia. I drove them along until I brought them to Abu Bakr, who bestowed that girl upon me as a prize. Yeah, she's a prize. So we arrived in Medina. I had not yet disrobed her when the messenger of Allah met me in the street and said, "Give me that girl." The man is specifically saying he did not have sex with her to Muhammad before he's going to hand the girl over. Again, it's all about sex. At the bottom there, Muhammad tells his men to take a slave girl, and here's one who's taken a slave girl who is of great beauty. So Muhammad takes her for himself. It's the story of Sophia. Everybody knows it, so I'm going to move on. Here's just another example of how girls are used as sex objects. So if a man returns a slave with a defect but has already had sex with her, he only pays a reduced price if she was a virgin. This is from the Muwatta. Malik again. So Malik said the generally agreed upon way of doing things among us is that if a man returns a slave girl in which he found a defect and has already had intercourse with her, he must pay what is reduced of her price if she was a virgin. Again, virgins go for more money. They're worth more. Why is that? Because sex is the name of the game. The next one, it's okay to have sex with 2 slave girls before washing. Again, is this consensual? Is this how women want to be treated? So again, from the Muwatta Malik. Malik was asked whether a man who had women and slave girls could have intercourse with all of them before he did ghusl. He said there's no harm in a man having intercourse with 2 of his slave girls before he does ghusl. So again, this isn't something that girls are going to consent to. This is just showing that masters can force a slave girl into marriage. So when married females are taken slaves, their original marriage is cancelled. Okay, so this reiterates the fact that she's now property of the master. So there again is the reliance of the traveler. When a child or woman is taken captive, they become slaves by the fact of capture, and the woman's previous marriage instantly annulled. The next part: the slave can only marry if a master gives permission. This is from the Hidya, page 529. The nikah of a male and female slave is not permitted without the permission of the master. Again, she's property. And the master can force his slave girl into marriage. He is al-Shafi. He may marry off his female slave without permission, virgin or non-virgin. The reference is there. Ibn Qudamah, the master has the right to marry off all his female slaves and his young slaves without their permission. Does this sound like they need to give their consent? The Hidya, the same thing. The master has the right to compel them to marriage. The master controls his slave's body. I'm going to skip this slide. You can take a screenshot. It doesn't matter. It should be pretty clear that the master owns the female. She has no rights. She has no right to self-governance or autonomy of herself. This is an important principle I want you to bear in mind. If the Sharia is silent on something, then it's halal. Okay? So in Islamic law, if there's a principle, if the law is silent on the matter, it's halal. Here's a fatwa to prove it. This is from the Islamic Network fatwa book. As for forcing her to intercourse or any kind of legitimate enjoyment, there's nothing in the Sharia text that refers to it. Its ruling is the rule of what is silent about. Because it's permissible for him to beat her non-extremely when she disobeys by banning his bed, then it's justified for him to compel, that means force, her to intercourse without beating. So was consent required? Allah made taking and ownership of female slaves lawful. Did these slaves consent to being taken as slaves and being forced into a contract that makes sex lawful? No. Here's Keisha Ali from her Concubinage and Consent book. It strains logic to suggest that an enslaved woman is subject to being married off without her consent or against her will to whomever her owner chooses, but that he can't have sex with her without her consent. Here's Jonathan Brown in a YouTube video. He's a Muslim convert. A male owner of a female slave has the right to sexual access to her. If she complained, her consent would be meaningless because she's a slave. Here's some fatwas to finish this off with. This is from islamway.net. This is an Arabic translation in English. You'll get the picture. It's not perfect. If her master wants sexual intercourse and she refuses, then he has the right to force her to do so. And it's not reprehensible because he fulfills his right. Remember, she's been given as a right to the Muslim. He's been given the right to have sex with her. This is a divine right. It's non-negotiable. Forcing the husband to have sex with his wife. This is Islam QA. So Ibn Taymiyyah says it's not permissible for the wife to disobey him, and she does not prevent herself from him. Rather, if she refuses and insists on that, he may beat her non-severely, and she's not entitled to maintenance or division. Likewise, a female slave has no right to refuse to fulfill the desire of her master unless there's an excuse. The final fatwa. Is it permissible for the master to force to cohabit if she refuses? If the wife is not permitted to refrain from intimate relations with her husband except for an excuse, then it's more appropriate that it's not permissible for the right-hand man, that's lady, to refrain from intimate relations with her master. If the wife of the property refuses to cohabit with a legitimate excuse, then the husband of the master may force her to do so. And here's my final slide. So this is from a digest of Mohammedan law. A slave is the property of his master and is therefore a fit subject for inheritance and all kinds of lawful contracts. He's also subject to his master's power, insomuch that if a master should kill his slave, he's not liable for retaliation. With a female slave, a master has the milk amin, or right of enjoyment. So, what you have just read should shock you, or what you heard has shocked you. Should break your heart. The God of Islam makes it permissible to take men, women, and children as spoils of war, not out of an act of kindness, but as a reward for serving Allah in the cause to spread Islam and end disbelief. Humans are used for labor, sexual recreation, as well as a source of wealth. Yeah, Allah allows slavery and he promotes it. Islamic law allows human beings to be bought, sold, and inherited because they are property. In Islam, slaves are a commodity. They're a property that is no different to cattle. That's my introduction. I think I made time. So over to the moderator. You okay? Okay. I finished.
Just wait for moderator.
Okay, that's fine. I apologize to anyone that hasn't seen the slides. I can see them fine. Everything that I read out was pretty much what was on the screen anyway. I will send anyone the slides that I've worked on, and I will do a presentation of this for people that are interested. So just, I assure you, everything's authentic. There's no hadiths here. There's no fake quotes. Everything is verifiable. So if you couldn't see it, hopefully you could hear it. And I'm looking forward to seeing how you what you've got to say. So We're waiting for the moderator. Do you? Okay. Okay, he's back.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Am I audible or not?
Yes, you're fine.
Oh, okay. Actually 3:23 is your perfect time, brother. But you have taken 2 minutes more. No problem. And here is the time.
Yeah, he can have longer if he wants. I don't mind.
Okay, no problem. No problem. So 3:23 is your perfect time and 2 minutes more. So are you ready, brother? Monotheistic bhai ready hai?
Just 1 minute. I'll
ठीक है.
share my. Let me share my screen.
What happened?
I'm sharing my screen. Just 2 minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can't see your screen, but it doesn't matter. Other people hopefully can, but I can't see anything at the moment. But I'm happy to accept, and I'll fact check anything that you say after this if I can't fact check it online. But okay, there you go.
No problem.
Yes.
Excellent.
Take
I
it
can
in.
see.
Take it in.
All right, let's go. Let's go. Let's see what you got.
Okay, so are you ready, brother?
Brother. जी फारूक भाई स्टार्ट कर दे मेरा टाइम
3:27 है. 3:47 तक जाएगा. ठीक है. Okay. Let's go.
Brother debunking try to debunk but Islam, but he debunked himself by taking wrong fatwa and against Quran and Hadith. Let me share my presentation. Before that, I tell these 3 points. I have never justified the concept of slavery. If anyone think that I'm come here to justify slavery, this is against honesty, because when all the world is what we can say accepted that slavery is not acceptable in the human side, then we Muslims are happy that what Quran says and Hadith says all world are accepted. Now moving to my second point, the word sex slavery, you cannot find this word in whole Quran and Hadith. I challenge you and all Islamophobe. My voice is clear now?
Yes,
Hello?
yes, your voice is clear to me too.
Okay.
Yeah, your voice is clear. Okay.
This
Go
word
ahead.
this word is not present in whole Quran and Hadith, because if you look the definition of sex slavery, it means sex slavery involve male and female, both adult and children, and constitutes and estimate 50% of all trafficking activities. It contains of different types of servitude, include force, prostitution, pornography, child sex, etc. These things are haram in Islam, and these things are not allowed at all, alhamdulillah. So if someone says there is slavery in Islam, he is wrong at all. And it's supposed there is a verse and hadith in Quran in which prostitution is being prohibited. We can say 4:23 and another hadith, Fatil al-Bari. And my third point is slavery was practiced in the world before Prophet Muhammad. Islam didn't start slavery, but what Islam do is Islam restricted, regulated, and not compulsory the slavery. It means I'll explain it. I'll explain it. What does it means? Let's move to the next slide. But remember that Islam never started slavery. It's restricted, regulated, and not compulsory. Not compulsory, I'll explain it. Then what we can say, which debunking Islam shows some verses in Quran and Hadith, in which there is, we can say, slave is seen in that. We can say only concubine, because the concubine definition you can see it is an interpersonal and sexual relationship between man and woman in which couple do not want or an enter into a full marriage. Not full marriage. What means it? It means half marriage. It means in liberal society, concubine not fully immoral to be seen. We can say there is a concubine in Islam, which debunk show some only concubine. But when we say concubine or slavery, what some people are imagining some horrific pictures like this, which is debunking Islam, uh, sharing the stories. A man is cut off and beaten by someone. This is not at all Islamic slavery. Believe me, this is not, because Islamic slavery is totally different. We can say if we can say it's haya and full of pak damni. What we can say, it's not fully basis of that. When we hear some, when we just wait. Yes, but when we hear word concubine or slavery, we imagine some horrific picture and the past kings in which filthy culture and kings, and there is these sorts of women which half naked and roaming around the king. These are not allowed in Islam at all. We can also say it's right and possess, which is best word. Now, moving to next my slide. How slave is operated by humans. See, this is a ship, and how the human is treated more than what we can say worse than animal. They you know, this, in this ship. This presentation is, let me, why it's running. I don't know. Just wait. Yes, voyage, voyage, slave. There is a very little. I can't see it. There is a website voyages. You can search it and see that this presentation, which is based on this ship, in which there is more than 10 billion slaves are what we can say are going to America. This is an American slave, but only 1.8 slave means 1.8 slave are dead during before reach the America. And see that this is the some of the picture how slaves are oppressed by human, how they can how they treated slave. And this picture is after Geneva Convention. See the common diseases, how slave are treated, and lack of food due to lack of food and lack of vitamin, mineral, and all this kind of. You can find it on Cambridge University also presented this presentation, and Voyages Slave. This website also
Okay, looks like we lost our friend.
Seems like his network has been going down.
Okay, we'll give him a second to make sure you stop the clock so he gets his time.
Yeah, 3 and 5.
Yeah.
I'll remember.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try and not say much because it's not fair. But yeah,
Yes.
His mic is bad. It's actually quite hard to hear him from my end. I don't know whether that's the same for everybody.
Yes, the mic is producing a lot of little sound bits, which is annoying. I know.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Okay.
the debate is good actually. Seems like it is going fair.
Yeah, it's a test run kind of argument, but yeah. As long as people find it informative and take something from it, that's what we want.
But its timing has been stopped now. It is just our conversation.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm conscious I can't say much because obviously I want to rebut things that he said.
Yeah.
But so I'm kind of limiting what I can say.
Okay, so brother, I am also want to give you a favor. Is that we can also talk about the slavery. Huh.
I can
I
debate
can
you.
also talk to you. You can debate me, but not in like that. You know, the network has been so much interruption in the mostly in India. The India has not been a good with these networks of the internet. So internet is not good. You can see I have been lived two times in this debate, and this brother is also lived one time. We both are Indian, and your network is mashallah good. You are not living here and there, and that is good about UK. But in India, it has been a very much interruption about the internet. I have also opened my Wi-Fi, but the electricity has been. It's all about the season. You know about the summer is going on in India, so the electricity is not well. But anyway, I'm telling you that we can also discuss about the slavery on the Islam openly, probably upon the call, but not like this in debate. You know, the debate has been so much interruption I have seen today. Two times I have lived, one time he has lived. This is not like a debate, brother. Seriously, it is just like a circus has been going on. It is a serious topic. Islam and slavery is a serious topic. It is
Well,
not like that one is building and another one is securing him. What is this?
Well, I took it serious. I mean, I do take slavery very serious, and I
Yeah.
showed you.
And brother, I also want to give you a favor. It is that the tafsir of Ibn Khatir, tafsir of most of the tafsir has been not too much accepted. Rather than you can go with the Arabic words of the Quran. You know in what language has the Quran has been written? Can you tell me?
Sorry.
I am asking you that in which language does the Quran has originally written?
It's Arabic.
It's Arabic, I know. The Arabic is still in the Arabia, but the today's Arabic and the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, Arabic is too much different. Can you tell me what Arabic was that?
Your God should have
Name
thought
of
about
the
that.
Arabic?
Your God should your God should reveal His message in something that can transcend time. It's not my fault He reveals something that doesn't make sense today. That's on you. That's a failure of your God, not me. I can only deal with the
Ah,
translations of the Arabic.
I know, but you have most of the knowledge about the tafsirs and the Quran, so that's why I'm asking what is the language,
Okay.
the name of the language.
Okay.
My voice is clear.
My
Sorry, I
interest is back, so
lost my.
Brother,
that's fine.
My voice is clear.
yeah,
I
are
lost
you
my
in here na?
connection.
Monitus भाई यहाँ है ना?
Yes, I lost my connection. Sorry, suddenly.
हाँ ठीक है भाई. 335 था ठीक है. आपको जो है आपको अभी 12 मिनट अभी आपके बाकी हैं, तो अब आप अपना लगा लिए जो भी है स्क्रीन पे और शुरू करिए. 12 मिनट हम जोड़ लेंगे यहाँ से.
सिर्फ 12 मिनट है. मेरे को लगता है थोड़ा ज्यादा थी.
अरे हाँ, मतलब वही 12 से 13
Okay.
मिनट ही रहेगा भाई. जोड़ लिया हमने वैसे.
Okay, I have shared my screen. Please take it in. Debunking. Hello.
Sorry, yeah, I muted my mic so you can get started with your presentation. I'm just conscious of time because I need to be gone by 12 o'clock, which is in about 50 minutes. So please feel free to restart start your introduction and we can get going. Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Just
Okay,
add my screen. Add my
Okay.
screen.
Yeah, share your screen, please.
Now
Yeah,
I
your
have
screen
to
is
show you that
showing here.
how un-Islamic slavery was. Uh, what where is that page? Yes, how they treat like that. I have told you, and now moving to next my slide. Uh, The Slavery Abolition Act is passed before 200 years in UK, and if you see 1865, slavery abolished by 30 USA in 1865, and finally the United States declared that it is against human law, human rights, and 1948, yeah, 1948 it's declared and slavery is being abolished. But now, debunking said that West abolished the slavery and Islam not abolished. Bro, the West that abolished the slavery is like a scenario. Is look like a slaves work in a what we can say a village cotton cotton farm, and blacks and white men come and give them, flog them, and oppress them. This type of slavery was being abolished, which I show you pictures before this. Now, moving to the Quran. Quran 5 by 1 says, "O believers, fulfill your all contracts." It means what? When all the country and whole world is decided that the slavery is being abolished and it is against human law, then we Muslim also happy and agreed on that because of these words. Now, when now when ISIS terrorist organization reestablished this slavery, do you know what we? Alhamdulillah, all the ulamas in the world, they are on uh, say that ISIS is on wrong path and give against the fatwa. You can see this website. Over 1,000 Islamic scholars give fatwa against ISIS, and also this website Muslim scholars are strongly against terrorist organization, and ulamas endorse fatwas against terrorism organization, and Jamaat Ahle Hadith Hind. It's also against the terrorist organization when this organization try to establish the slavery system and what we can say on uh, jihad system. These are all against the Muslim are against on that, and you can see the Saudi Grand Mufti is also against organization this organize. And do you know there is an hadith of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam which say God will not cause all my peoples to error. What what does it mean? It means terrorist organization are on wrong path, and we Muslims are majority. They are on right path. Otherwise, all the majorities are if all the majorities accepted that slavery is being promoted by Islam, then hence we also promoted this slavery. But no ulama said that all ulamas are against this terrorist organization. Now moving to types of slavery. Before Islam, we have know that there are basically four types of slavery. If we go and research, you can find more than 10 or maybe 10 uh, types of slavery. But basically, these four types of slavery, what we can say, is present in the history. First type of slavery is that a captured free person. It means what? Uh, it means what a person go for a journey and someone attacking on them and kidnap them, and he's become a slave and he is selling them and operates them. This type of slavery, Islam, Alhamdulillah, banned immediately. Do you know there is an Sahih Hadith what in which Prophet ﷺ said, قال الله تعالى ثلاث أنا خصمتهم يوم القيامة. Prophet ﷺ said, Allah said, I will be oppressed and opponent to three types of people. What what of these three types of people? The one in which one is who sells a free person and eat his price. Do you know what that mean? It means the first types of slavery in Islam immediately banned it. Prophet Muhammad immediately banned it, and after we have seen that America 1946. in 1946 they abolished all types of slavery, but alhamdulillah Islam 1400 years back abolished this type of slavery. A second type of slavery is that slavery by debt. If a person never give their debt, they can become slave. You can search it. But in if you look at the Sharia law, there is no what we can say. Uh, there is no rule you can become slave for not giving debt for the purpose of debt. Interest is also haram in Islam. And and third types of slavery is punishment. Means if you commit a crime for such and such reason, you may become slavery in past. But in Islamic Sharia law there is no punishment which makes you a slave. And four types of slavery is prisoners of war. These types of slavery in Islam not abolished at a time, but what Islam do is Islam restricted, regulated, and then not compulsory it. What does it mean? I'll explain. Now, debunking Islam says Muslim have war to non-Muslim for the purpose of their religion. I have to tell you something because I have told you uh, wars, prisoners of war can be become slave. So some person maybe have confusion that in Islam there is a forced conversion or there is a jihad and terrorism. So I'm said that there is an verse in the Quran, La ikraha fi din, which means there is no compulsion of deen. You can accept Islam or you can reject it. We cannot uh, show you Islam at gunpoint, accept you on gunpoint. There is so much ayat, but this is one of that. So some people can say, we Muslim, you are in Quran there is an what we can say war verses, then it means you are a terrorist. Then I will say to them, we Muslim are sweet, but not too much that someone swallow it. We are bitter, but not too much that someone split off us. Means leave us by saying. This I tell you in metaphorically. Don't take it serious, okay? It means if someone attack on us, we will also attack him on us. Now let's see the other religion what they say about slavery. If you read the Manusmriti, chapter number 8, verse number 104, 40, 415, you can find the list of slavery you can make them. And also slavery was in Mahabharat in Hinduism. Some people say some Hinduism, my brother Hindu said our scripture internal. Then what does it mean? The slavery also internal. Just leave it. If you look at the Bible, First King, chapter number 11, verse number 3, King Solomon had 300 concubines. 300 concubines, what we can say, King Solomon had. And if you look at the Greek philosopher Aristotle, they say slavery was a natural thing. And what Greek philosopher Aristotle is not a religious person. In fact, not a Muslim. He say uh, slavery was a natural thing, and human being can be two types: slave or non-slave. It means past people they justify the slavery. You can see this article also. And now, moving to Islam. In Islam, there is only one condition in which you can make someone, what we can say, slave. That is in war. That is in when there is uh, war between Muslim and another empire, and after Muslim have won, the chief of army have four options. It could be take jizya and uh, free them all, and second option is they can kill all the remaining people. But the second option is not recommended by Prophet Muhammad and Islam, because there is in Sahih Hadith in which Prophet they say don't kill children and women in the war. And the third option is we have in Islam, that is slavery. And fourth option we have ihsan, means we can free them as a sawab for the sake of Allah. And moving to the Quran, chapter 47, verse 4 says, when you meet in the unbelievers, what we can do in the battlefield? Zaire, simple, the obviously kill them. Don't play with them gilli danda. Play their attack on their neck. And when you crun, crush them, then blind your blind your captive firmly. Therefore, thereafter you are entitled, set up free either by an act or of grace or against ransom until the war is end. It means Quran have given only two options, which is promoted by Islam. You can free them or either or take them jizya, ransom money and free them. Quran never what we can say promoted them. And moving to there is an I think debunking Islam show me more than three or two ayat in Quran which say that there is in slavery, but you can find more than six ayats in which Allah says free the slave, free the slave, free the slave. Allah never said keep the slave, keep the slave. Allah says free the slave, free the slave. And there is in some several scenes in which the we can find we can free the slave. And moving to and the ways of getting freedom slave in Islam, there isn't so much ways like freed by master. Mukad means as a good deed master can free them, and as an expansion of sin which I show you, and as a mudabbir slave means slave can be freed as legacies. And third option is mistreated by owner. If master give them slap or hurt them, then slave will automatically free. And fifth option is mukatiba contract. This option is given to this right is given to Islamic slavery. You cannot find it on any other laws. Slave have right to purchase their own freedom, and other is by someone else means from his people and from Muslim as a good deed and free. Freed by relative means exchange, and freed by Baitul Mal means zakat, and freed if she become your mother, child of mother means Ummul Balad. If she give birth to your child, it can be freed at a time. Now, see there is a Sahih Hadith in which Prophet Sallallahu in which the Hazrat Abdullah bin Umar reported, Umar bin Al-Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him, said, when a servant woman gives birth for her child, then he may not sell her or bestow her, or what we can say, we cannot sell them, we cannot what we can say operate them obviously. Now the situation is look like this bucket, which in which slave is enter in one entrance and can be freed in many ways. So I'll asking you debunking, can water is remaining in the bucket? Obviously no. This rule is applied by Islam. What we can say, this technique is applied by Islam, which we can free the slave easily. Now moving to another my slide. This is a practical example how Prophet Muhammad freed the slave, how Hazrat Aisha Razilullah Anha freed the slave, how Ibn Abbas freed the slave, and you can see that. And also Tabain, they also freed the slave, and this generation is going on. Some ulama says after the Hazrat Umar ibn Khattab caliph, after this Khilafat, most of the slaves are being abolished. Most of them. Now see the status of slave in Islam. There is in Sahih Hadith in which Prophet ﷺ says, "Your slaves are your brethren your brethren." Obviously, here talking about male slave, because female slave Islam give them half right of wife, and male slave if Islam give them right of brethren upon whom Allah has given you authority. So if one has one brethren under one's control, one should treat them with the like of what one eat and clothe them with the like of what one wear. You should not overburden them with what they cannot bear, and if you do so, help them. It means what? Slave is not captured for the purpose only for the purpose of what we can say relationship, sex, but it's captured for the purpose of what we can say working purpose and farming purpose, etc. And status of, let's see, status of slave, this is completed. And now caring of slave. Do you know there is a verse in Quran which say وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا وَيَتِيمًا وَأَسِيرًا, and those who for the love of him Allah feed the needy and orphan and captive. Do you know after this verse what happened, what was happened to companions? You can see Ibn Kasir, the poor person give the freed Sahaba companions give preference over themselves when eating their meal. It means what? The they behave like their brother, not oppress them or not kill them or not beat them. They give their they give
Actually,
their
brother, your time is
food.
over. Monotheist
Okay,
bhai,
okay,
your
no
time is
problem.
over.
Okay, okay, no
Uh,
problem.
okay. Both
Can
the
you
presentation has been done by both very fairly within a time about
debunking?
20 minutes.
Hello, hello,
Hello,
debunking.
debunking.
Can you give me
Hello? Hello,
hello
can you hear me?
debunking?
Yeah.
Can
Hi,
you
can you hear me?
give me just 2 to 5 minutes? 2 to 5 minutes, because my presentation is not full. Because
That's fine. I will want 5 minutes to respond to everything you just said, okay? Is that okay?
okay, okay,
O-
I'll finish
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Inshallah, quickly I'll
Uh,
finish it.
no problem. No problem. Go, go, go.
Okay,
Go
okay,
357.
okay.
Go.
And there is another Sahih hadith in which you cannot slap a slave, and debunking will show me that you can kill them and operate them. A reference showed by debunking Islam, but you see clearly in the Sahih Muslim, you cannot slap your slave. If you slap them, the expectation is to free them. And there is another right of slave. Uh, the Prophet ﷺ said three. Do you know there is an right or slave have right to be married? This happen in Islamic law. Three person will get their rewards twice. One is one who one person one is a person who has a slave girl and he educated her properly and teaches her good manner and properly, and then manumates and marry her. Do you know there in Islamic law the slave have right to educate and marriage? This is proven by Sahih Hadith. Moving to moving forward, and you can see this verse of Quran. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ مِنْكُمْ طَوْلًا أَنْ يَنْكِحَ الْمُحْصَنَاتِ, and whoever amongst you cannot the means of marry believer women, then from those whom your right hand possesses you can marry if she is believing. And see the Muslim, the slave girls children in the Muslim society, they become more, they become what we can say what we can say empire in the Islamic State, Al-Khwarizmi Empire and Delhi Sultanates, and this and they are also, 1 second, my slide is running. Abdul Abdur Abdul Rahman the third, Hisham the second is also uh, what we can say born by a slave girl, but in Islamic State they have right, they become empire. And let's see now, you can see this. I have shown you the right of slave. Now compare it to an Islamic slavery. In Islamic slavery, the right to there is an right to be not beaten severely or on the face. But in un-Islamic slavery, you cannot find this type of right. Similar, second point is right of food and clothing and same level of honor. But in un-Islamic slavery, you cannot find this type of right? And is in Islamic slavery, you can find right to be being made to do excessive work means you cannot burden on work on them. And in an Islamic slavery, you cannot find this type of what we can say, right? In Islamic slavery, the right to the contract, the right to the marriage, the right to preservation of life, and banning of castration means you cannot castrate them or remove their testicles. But in an Islamic slavery, you cannot find this type of rights. Now, moving to another. And and do you know that Islamic slavery is better than un-Islamic slavery? This is not I'm saying this is why this app showing my screen. This is in Frenchman, which is not shown. I don't know why. This is a Frenchman. He said that Islamic slavery, what I sincerely believe in is that slavery amongst the Muslims better than slavery amongst any other people, and that the situation of slavery in the West would have been the of servant of in Europe. And moving to next my slide, some people say why Islam is immoral. They actually they spreading presentism because they say Islam has never banned at say one times. Then I will ask them question. Imagine a futuristic world where imprisonment is prohibited. Prison means you cannot prison any person, and and future future people say that the people who is live in 2028 they are all immoral because they have prisons and and this is a mental torture. And then what debunking Islam say? Is he immoral? Now, moving to another slide, Islam prohibit killing by fire. Do you know there is in Islam there is no punishment or it is prohibited to kill someone by fire? But do you know there is in war people are burned by people are killed by what we can say explosives. Then can a Muslim tell that? Can a Muslim say that they will not use explosive since Islam does not prefer its use? No, since it is mutual issue. It's not unilateral issue. We cannot abolish unilaterally until both have mutual treatment. Just one second, my presentation is only 2 slides. And do you know when the Napoleon age of what we can say? Just 1 minute. When France has unilaterally abolished the slavery, they re-established 1802 after a few years because they say this is not a unilateral issue. We cannot abolish slave at one side if all what we can say all world is not agreed on that. They re-established the slavery at the Napoleon age. And my question to debunking Islam, does the war and the normal situation are same? Please give the answer in rebuttal. Is it true that you making more possible damage to your enemy? Does there is no rule to take for that in the rule in the war? Give me practical or otherwise give me practical possible solution or to deal with slavery. Now, my presentation is complete. I will explain the rape and other this kind of issue in my rebuttal. Now, Islam
Yeah,
debunking.
actually, brother, your time is over too.
Okay, okay.
It has
Can
been one more minute. 1 minute has been extra, but no problem. The debunking Islam has been given you, so no problem about that. Now the time of debunking Islam. Uh, can you hear, brother?
I'm here. Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. So the presentation has been done by both, and
Yeah,
now the time is for a rebuttal. A rebuttal, what you can say?
absolutely.
Rebuttal.
Okay, I get 15 minutes as agreed. So let's go. So it was interesting. Thank you for
Uh,
that.
uh,
Can you hear me?
a 5 minute, 5 minute for both rebuttal. Okay. 5 minutes.
No. So I have 10-minute rebuttal, but the gentleman had an extra 5 minutes for his introduction. So I'm going to take 5 minutes for my rebuttal, if that's fine. So that's fair, isn't it? He had extra, so I get extra.
Is it acceptable for by your side, monotheist भाई? 5 मिनट और लेगा, 10 मिनट लेगा total.
He should say yes because I gave him extra 5 minutes.
सुन सकते हैं monotheist भाई 10 मिनट.
Yes. Okay.
No problem.
So you have total 10 minutes. 10 minutes you have. Okay.
Okay. Give my answer which I asked.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so my time starts now. So I hope everyone heard that. So he started off by saying Islam doesn't allow slavery, and then went into great detail to explain how Islam controls slavery, how it encourages the freeing of slaves. So if you free a slave, that means you must have a slave. So anyway, let's go through a few things. So he said that in Islam, you can't hit a slave. So let's get this first thing debunked. Sahih Muslim 1657a, he who slaps his slave or beats him, the expiation for it is that he should set him free. The hadith says very clearly that the expiation for it is if the Muslim wants to be forgiven for a sin, he should set him free. Expiation is when a Muslim does a good deed to be relieved of sin that he's done, okay? So what this hadith is saying is not that you can't hit your slave, it's saying that if you do hit your slave, it would be a nice thing to do to free him because Allah will forgive you for that sin. Here is Imam Nawawi in Shah Sahih Muslim, volume 11, page 287, on this hadith. Muslims are unanimous that freeing him for this is not obligatory, but rather it's delegated in the hope of expiation for his sin. So let me just let that set in. Allah is not telling you, or Muhammad through, or Allah through Muhammad, is not telling you that if you hit a slave, you should free them. He's saying if you hit a slave, you should free him for forgiveness for your sin. Okay, it's not a prohibition to hit the slave. It's just saying it would be a good deed if you did, because Allah will be pleased. But this will get a lot more interesting in a second. So this hadith shows that it's okay to hit a slave if the slave has done something wrong. He just isn't allowed to slap him. Sahih Muslim 1657b. He who beats a slave without recognizable offense of his or slaps him without any serious fault, then expiation for him is that he should set him free. Again, should set him free. Doesn't have to set him free, should set him free. But did you notice it says he who beats a slave without recognizable offense? So he can beat him. The slave just has to have done something to deserve that beating. And it says he can't slap him. So the next hadith will make this clearer. This hadith explains that you can hit your slave and slap your slave, you just can't slap him in the face. Sahih Muslim 1658b. You could find no other part to slap but the prominent part of the face. The reason the face is mentioned is because in Islam, hitting the face is forbidden. So this is a general rule, it's not specific to the treatment of slaves. So Muslims who use this to show you can't beat your slave are actually just using a general rule that applies to all Muslims to other Muslims. You can't hit a Muslim in the face. Sahih Muslim 2612d. When any of you fight with his brother, he should not slap the face. Hit any part of the body, just not the face. Islamic law is clear. Slaves can be beaten if they do wrong, and if it's disproportionate to the offence. Islam leaves this up to the Muslim to decide what is justified beating and what's proportionate. Here is Al-Adab al-Mufrad 177.
Oh, brother debunking Islam, he has leave the debate. Can you see, he is not here among us. He is not here.
Okay.
He's saying add me in the chat.
Okay, I've added him.
Yeah.
We can do it again because my connection is sorry. First slide
no
only.
problem again. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. I'm calculating the time. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, here is another hadith, and it's from Bukhari himself. The expiation for someone who slaps his slave or beats him more than he deserves is to set him free. Again, you can hit him, you can beat him. It just has to be for a reason, and if it's not more than he deserves. But there's no criteria for what he deserves. Sunan Abu Dawood 142. Do not beat your wife as you beat your slave. Don't beat your wife as much as you beat your slave. Sunan Nisa 4050. If a slave runs away, no salah will be accepted from him, and if he dies, he'll be a disbeliever. A slave of Jarius ran away, and he caught him and struck his neck, killing him. There was no punishment for Jerry. He was able to kill a slave that ran away. Does that sound like you can hit a slave and beat a slave? Sunan Abu Dawood 1818. So this is one of Muhammad's companions, Abu Bakr, who says to his slave, "Where is your camel?" He replied, "I lost it that night." So Abu Bakr said, "There was only one camel, and even you've lost that." He began to beat him while the Messenger of Allah was smiling. That's Sahih, by the way. Does that sound like a beating to you? Al-Adab al-Mufrad 170. Abdullah ibn Umar sent a slave of his with some gold or silver, and he exchanged it and deferred the exchange. Then went back to Ibn Umar, who gave him a painful beating. He said, "Go and take what's mine and do not exchange it." Does that sound like a beating? This is from Ibn Ishaq, page 496. This is referring to the accusation against Aisha, who had allegedly committed adultery against Muhammad. Muhammad and his companion Ali go to Aisha's slave to find out what happened. Ali got up and gave her, the slave, a violent beating, saying, "Tell the apostle the truth." A violent beating. Does that sound like a beating? I think I've made it pretty clear that you can beat your slave in Islam. But let's have another look at another hadith which some Muslims use to try and show that it doesn't. So Muslims use Sahih Muslim 1659c to show a slave being freed for beating a slave. For being beaten. It doesn't say if the slave had committed an offence to justify it, so we must assume he hadn't. If you look at the bottom there, it says, "I set him free for the sake of Allah." Thereupon he said, "Had you not done that, hell would have opened up for you." So it sounds like it was a good thing to do to free that slave for being hit. But look at this version. We first learned that he's a Muslim, so the slave is a Muslim slave. "I seek refuge with Allah." So the slave is being beaten. "I seek refuge with Allah," but he continued beating him, whereupon he said, "I seek refuge with Allah's messenger," and he spared him. The slave is then freed. But now look, in this version, we learn that the master has sworn an oath not to beat the slave. At the bottom there, "I said I would never beat my servant in the future." This is important because if a Muslim breaks his oath, he must free a sound Muslim slave. Here is Reliance of the Traveller, the expiation for a broken oath. An expiation is obligatory for someone who swears and breaks an oath if the swearer is to free a sound Muslim slave. So the slave was freed because the master broke an oath, so he had to free a believing slave. So not just slaves, only a Muslim slave. Or the other alternative we could look at is he was just freed because he was hit for no reason. Nothing in any of these hadiths show that you can't hit your slave. Everything proves you can beat your slave if there's a reason, and you just don't have to hit them in the face. There's nothing that says the Muslim must actually free the slave. If you do beat him, it would just be a good thing because Allah will be pleased for you. And only then, it can only be a Muslim slave that you are freed if you beat, because the only way you can be freed of sin is if you free a Muslim slave, as you're about to see. So I hope that's very clear. If you're a non-Muslim slave and are beaten, you don't have to be free. There's nothing in the Sharia that shows that. Okay, moving on. Okay, so Monophist said that in Islam you're taught to treat slaves as your brother. Here's the hadith they use. Sahih Muslim 1661c, "Your slaves are your brother." Well, let's think about what Allah has to say about Muslims and non-Muslims first. This is the Quran. I don't actually have the reference for the verse there. I apologize, but you can check this. "Surely the vilest of all animals in Allah's sight are those who disbelieve." Doesn't sound like they're brothers. "You are the best nation," this is Muslims, "produced. You enjoin what is right and forbid what is wrong." Again, Muslims are better than non-Muslims. "Slaves themselves are not equal to free people." Here's Allah again. "And Allah has favored some of you in provision over others." Okay, so slaves are not equal. Here is Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen. "There is never brotherhood between Muslims and Christians. True brotherhood in Islam is based on faith. So you cannot as a Muslim call a non-Muslim a brother." Okay, so what is this hadith actually talking about? Well, this hadith emphasizes it. This hadith shows that a slave praying to Allah is your brother. Okay, a horse which you equip to fight on in God's path, and a slave who serves you sufficiently, and when he prays, he is your brother. So he's your brother in religion. Okay, that was what the hadith was referring to. It wasn't referring to you literally treating him and seeing him as a brother, because that's impossible. Because if it's a non-Muslim, he cannot be your brother. And if he's a slave, he can't be an equal. That hadith also says about giving the slave your food. But look at actually what Muhammad says. Sunan Abu Dawood 4832. Associate only with a believer and let only a God-fearing man eat your meals. So there it is. If slaves are not equal to free people and non-Muslims are not equal to Muslims, and you can't call non-Muslims your brother and you can't share your food with them, then we can say quite confidently that this hadith is only referring to believing slaves. Okay? So the idea that you treat this slave as your brother and be kind to him isn't actually true. It's only appearing to apply to a specific Muslim who's converted to Islam. So again, remember this. Every slave is a non-Muslim to start with. They only become a Muslim after they're taken as a slave, okay? And only then could they be freed. So think about that. I'll come to that in a minute. The next hadith explains that Muslims are only obligated to feed and clothe your slaves with the same food clothes if they please you. So good slaves who obey their master and accept their enslavement are deserving. If they don't obey, you don't give them anything. Here it is. Feed those of your slaves who please you from what you eat and clothe them with what you clothe yourselves, but sell those who do not please you. So again, it's only about a good slave who obeys you, and it's only about a Muslim slave. So I hope that's debunked quite clearly. Islam certainly does not treat slaves as brothers. Let's move on. Does Islam teach Muslims to educate free, then marry slaves out of kindness? So monotheists quoted this hadith. Allah's messenger said, if a person teaches his slave girl good manners properly, educates her properly, and then manumits and marries her, he'll get double reward. Well, this hadith firstly only refers to females. It's not referring to males. And this hadith, the next hadith provides more context. This is Sahih Bukhari, and look in the chapter heading. A man teaching religion to his woman slave and his family. Allah's messenger said 3 persons will have a double reward. A master of a woman slave who teaches her good manners and educates her in the best possible way, the religion, manumits her and marries her. So what is clearly being meant by educate is referring to the Muslim master teaching the non-Muslim slave about Islam. It's not referring to education per se. In other words, Allah will reward those who educate non-Muslims on Islam and frees them and allows them to marry them because they've converted. This is proved by the fact Muslims can't marry polytheists. So if it's a polytheist slave, you would not be able to marry them unless they became a Muslim. Muslims can marry Christian and Jewish females, but it's not recommended. Here's a fatwa, Islam QA. Actually, I think it's just a question, Q&A. Allah's permitted to marry Jewish and Christian women. However, we do not advise you to marry a non-Muslim woman. This is a different fatwa, a realistic look at marriage to women. And they quote Akim al-Dimah. Apologies for the pronunciation. So Abd ibn Ahmed said, I asked my father about a Muslim man who married a Christian or Jewish woman. He said, I do not like that for him to do it. So what we're saying is it's permissible. We do not doubt that there is a clear context concerning that. Nevertheless, we do not think that a Muslim should marry a Katabi woman. Here's Muhammad pointing it out in black and white. Muhammad literally says one of the main reasons to marry a female is for her religion, to mean belief in Allah. The Prophet said, indeed, the woman is married for her religion. Here is Reliance of the Traveller, saying that, and that's the Shafi book of fiqh that states a woman's religion is the most desirable thing to look for in a wife. Okay, religiousness which takes precedence over anything else. Allah's encouraging Muslims to only marry believing women, and this hadith refers to marrying believing female slaves. In this context, Muslims are being told it's good if you educate them on Islam. If they convert, then free them, then marry them. So the aim is not to free the slave, but to create another Muslim who can then produce more Muslim children. This is a recruitment device to boost Islam. It's not an act of mercy. Remember, Islam is all about conquering the world, getting as many people into Islam, bringing the whole world under the banner of Allah. That's all it's about. And so if you take a non-Muslim slave and make them a Muslim, freeing them benefits Islam. It's not an act of mercy, as monotheist wants you to believe. Now, does Islam teach being a good Muslim is to free slaves? So Muslims quote 90:12-13 to show Islam says free slaves. And what can make you know what is breaking through the difficult pass? It's the freeing of a slave. Well, Ibn Kathir uses this hadith to show that this is referring to believing slaves. So Muslims are told to free Muslims, not non-Muslims. Sahih Bukhari 6154. If somebody manumits a Muslim slave, Allah will save from the fire every part of his body. If somebody manumits a Muslim slave, here's another legal text, the Hidya. Emancipation is a transaction that is recommended. The Prophet said, if any Muslim emancipates a believer, Muhammad himself only agrees to free a slave when he hears she's a Muslim. Sunan Nisa 3653, the Messenger of Allah said, set her free, for she's a believer. Does Islam teach?
Brother, actually your time is over. Your time is over. Time is up.
Are you sure? Was that 15 minutes?
Yeah, 15 minutes is over. You have taken the time on 4:13 actually. It is almost 15 minutes too.
Okay, almost. Let me keep going. Okay, no, that's fine. I think I've debunked about half of what you got to say. I'll get to the next bit in my next few minutes. But that's
Yeah, now the time is for 10 minutes, both for questions.
Well, we actually had
My rebuttal is remaining.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Your rebuttal is also there too. Okay. You have 5 minutes, na? You have 5 minutes.
10 minutes for rebuttal.
Brother, he has given you the time. भाई उसने आपको time दिया था अपना और उसने वापस ले लिया.
Only 5 minutes.
बार टाइम. हाँ भाई 5 मिनट रिबटल के थे लेकिन उसने अपना टाइम लिया जो उसने आपको दिया ना उसमें क्या नाम है अरे यही अपना प्रेजेंटेशन में तो वही
सॉरी मुझे मालूम नहीं था लेन देन करे नहीं तो मैं वही छोड़ दिया होता वो टाइम पे
I don't believe I got 15 minutes there. I mean, I'll have to check this. I don't believe I got 15 minutes, but I wasn't timing it, so I have to trust you. But that felt more
it
like
will be good if you go with 5 minutes too because everything has a time limit. You know, it has 5 minutes of time, but you have given the time in return about 10 minutes. So.
No, sorry, listen, it's 10-minute rebuttal plus 5 minutes. It's 15 minutes. I have 5 minutes more. He has 10 minutes. I have another 5 minutes. So I need another 5 minutes. Yeah? You understand?
I have 10 minutes.
No.
10 minutes for what?
No, look.
Rebuttal.
We have a 10-minute rebuttal each. However, you took 5 minutes longer in your introduction, so I get 15 minutes in my rebuttal. That was what we agreed.
Yeah,
brother, I don't
that's what.
know.
Okay, so I have 5 more minutes.
You have to. भाई अकॉर्डिंग टू मी आपको 5 मिनट्स के लिए जाना चाहिए क्योंकि फिर टाइम आगे भी बढ़ जाएगा फिर वो भी आगे टाइम लेगा क्वेश्चन और आंसर में जितना टाइम लिमिट है उतना ही पे करिए
ओके मेन टॉपिक तो रह ही जा रहे हैं इस इस्लाम प्रमोट्स
भाई पौने 2 घंटा तो यही हो चुका है देखिए
नो प्रॉब्लम
हाँ तो भाई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है लेकिन फिर भी ये काम टाइम से ही हो आप पूछ सकते हैं ये क्या नाम है डिबंकिंग से कि अगर वो 10 मिनट देने को तैयार है तो फिर लेकिन
कैन आई टेक 10 मिनट्स इफ अगर मैं जल्दी कवर करूंगा 5 मिनट तो दे दूंगा अगर नहीं हुआ तो 10 मिनट क्योंकि इसने कुछ क्वेश्चन किया मेरे से
This isn't hard to work out. I had 10-minute rebuttal. However, I was given an extra 5 minutes on top of that because Monophys took longer in his intro. So I have 5 minutes left. After that, Monophys gets 10 minutes to respond to me.
हाँ भाई वो भी वही कह रहा है
ओके नो प्रॉब्लम
ठीक है ना ठीक है हम लगाते हैं टाइम ठीक है 4:23 लेट्स गो
Right, I've got 5 minutes. Okay. So does Islam teach to free slaves as expiation for sin? So Quran 492, Muslims should free believing slaves as expiation for sin. And whoever kills a believer by mistake, then free a believing slave. So again, it comes down to the same.
Now, how many times your time is remaining? How many remaining is your time?
I have 5 minutes.
5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Okay, I have 5 minutes. Okay. I will stop in 5 minutes. Okay.
4:24 to 4:20. Okay.
Yeah. So once again, freeing slaves as expiation for sin is that you can only free a Muslim slave. You can see that there, Islam Web Fatwa 143305. The slave that should be freed for expiation of sin must be a Muslim. Here's Malik Muwatta. The best of what I've heard on the obligation of freeing slaves is that it's not permitted to free a Christian or a Jew to fulfill it. That means for the expiation of sin. So Muslims repeatedly say, if a Muslim does a bad thing, free a slave. No, free a Muslim slave. And that Muslim slave has was a non-Muslim who's now converted to Islam. So it's once again a recruitment device to boost the number of Muslims. It's always acted in the interest of Islam. It's never mercy for the non-Muslim. It's always trying to do something positive for Islam. Does Islam encourage slaves to buy their freedom? Quran 2433 says, as those who ask for a writing from among those whom your right hand possesses, give them the writing if you know good in them. So according to the scholars, Muslims are not compelled to actually grant the slave the right to buy his freedom. It's up to the Muslim, although if some good is found in them, it would seem it's recommended to grant their freedom. Here's Muwata Malik to just again give us a bit more context. Malik said, what is done amongst us is that the master of the slaves does not have to give his slave a kataba if he asks for it. I've not heard of any of the imams forcing a man to give a kataba to his slave. So what that's telling you is Muslims will claim that they can, if a slave asks for freedom, they give them freedom. Actually, it's showing it's completely up to the master. It's not incumbent on him. It's up to him if he wants to. And now you're going to see something interesting because it says very clearly, if you know good in them, then you free them. Well, Allah says that the disbelievers are the worst of creatures. Those who disbelieved and deny their signs, they're the companions of the hellfire. Surely the vilest of animals in Allah's sight are those who disbelieve. Sahih Bukhari 435. May Allah curse the Jews and Christians, for they built the places of worship at the graves of their prophets. The point of this is Allah, Muhammad, does not see good in Jews and Christians and polytheists themselves. They're the vilest of creatures. Okay, they disbelieve in Allah. Therefore, freeing a slave if he asks for it, and if you find good in them, can only refer to a believing slave, because disbelieving slaves cannot have good in them by virtue of their disbelief. And the request to be freed is not binding on the master anyway. So once again, it comes back to freeing a Muslim slave, not freeing a slave. And he's only a Muslim slave because he converted to Islam, probably to save his life. If freeing slaves is so virtuous, why did Muhammad stop slaves being freed? So here's, or try to. So Sahih Muslim 1668a, Hussein reported that a person who had no other property emancipated 6 slaves of his at the time of his death. Allah's messenger called for them and divided them into 3 sections, cast lots amongst them, and set 2 free and kept 4 in slavery. So if it's all about freeing slaves, why is Muhammad stopping slaves from being free when the masters actually offered it? Okay. The freed slave of Ibn Abbas told him that she manumitted a slave girl without taking permission of the Prophet. On that day, when it was when it was her turn to be with the Prophet, she said, "Do you know, O Allah, that I have Allah's messenger, I have manumitted my slave girl?" He said, "Have you really?" She replied in the affirmative. He said, "You would have got more reward if you had given her to one of your maternal uncles." Muhammad is actually saying, why did you free that slave girl? You could have got more money if you sold it to an uncle. So there it is in black and white. Okay. The Prophet came to know of one of his companions had given the promise of freeing his slave after his death, but as he had no other property than that, the Prophet sold that slave for 800 dinars and sent the price for it. There's another example of Muhammad stopping a slave from being freed after the master has said they will free the slave. And it goes on and on and on. I could try and rebut a bit more, but I think I've made my point. Islam doesn't promote not hitting slaves. It certainly allows it, and it certainly does not promote freeing slaves, which is why when Islam came, slavery went up, and Islamic slavery only ended when the West put pressure on them to end. Everything you've seen has been from the authentic sources. I've not needed to Google and use articles. Everything is authentic. You can see it clear as day. There's nothing that says stop slavery. Everything is about legislating it, and everything is about promoting Islam. So freeing slaves within the context of conversion is the name of the game. I'll finish there. I've finished.
At my screen. Hello.
Hi. Yeah.
Add my screen.
Hello, what happened?
I finished.
I finished. Okay, you
My screen is
okay,
not
all right. So your rebuttal time is here. So you're gonna take 5 minutes or 10 minutes, bro? आप 5 मिनट लेंगे 10 मिनट?
I'll कोशिश करूंगा 5 मिनट में, ज़्यादा बता 7 मिनट।
हाँ ठीक है, बस 5 मिनट में करिए, ज़्यादा ही बेहतर है। ठीक है।
Share your screen, please.
At the screen debunking. Before that,
Hi.
I just counter your some question. Yes, at my screen.
Oh, sorry, my mistake. Sorry.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Debugging Islam says for a reason you can beat for a reason you can beat the slave. Yes, brother. For a reason you can beat slave, and in fact, for a reason, my voice is clear. Hello.
Sorry, you're asking
Yeah,
me.
you are audible.
You're asking
You're
me a
audible.
question.
My screen is not moved. Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. 5 minutes
Okay,
you have. 4:30 is.
you,
Go ahead, please.
Okay.
you can't see. Okay, I can see the
Debunking
screen.
Islam. Okay.
You can't see. So okay, this is I can see it. That's weird. What have I done?
Islam says for a reason you can beat a slave.
भाई वो
Bro,
है
for
नहीं
a
भाई, वो
reason
रूम में
you
नहीं
can.
है, रूम में नहीं है भाई, वो रुक जाइए, गया कहीं। अरे यार, एक तो लाइफ पे ज्यादातर टाइम यही हो रहा है, कभी वो जा रहे कभी आप। टाइम रुका हुआ है, ठीक है
मैंने
ना,
सोचा जल्दी हो
पूरे 5
जाएगा।
मिनट है। मैं
नो प्रॉब्लम।
वर्दी फंसी हुई है।
I don't know how to. Is that better?
Now you are here, so he's gone. What is happening, brother? Is it a debate or what?
Okay, I mean, sorry, it's a bit confusing. I can see his slides, but I don't know how to show them to you. I haven't changed anything. Yeah. Oh, it's working. Okay, excellent.
Okay, brother. So
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
your time starts now.
Debunking
4:32.
debunking Islam says for a reason you can beat. Brother, reason is required for every case. If you go in a jail, in a prison, for a reason you can go. Similarly, if a slave is beaten by master, obviously if there is a strong reason, then can master is not free them, because if master unnecessarily beat them, then obviously he is uh, uh, and the expiation is to free them. And Quran, and you say only Quran and Hadith encourages to free Muslim slave. Brother, there in Quran I have shown you more than 6 verses and hadiths. There is no written such like you can free only if you free Muslim slave, then your sin is forgiven by Allah. Quran says only you can free slave. It can be any Muslim or non-Muslim. And I have told you that more than four fatawas on which ISIS terrorist organization if against uh, sorry give against ISIS terrorist organization. And I have asked you 4 questions in my ending slide. You cannot reply of them, because if you reply, you the slavery of Islam is justified and it's not become immoral. Now, you tell me show a hadith in which kill there is a written you can kill slave if he run. Yes, obviously. If he run, he may be attack on you. It may become war like condition, barricades. If he run non-Muslim slave, because it's not the what we can say मसला मसले को क्या बोल सकते हैं हम आसान लैंग्वेज में. It's not issue of uh, religion. It's issue of politics. It can attack on you. And uh, and whilst and, and whilst Quran show you Quran give you the right of contract, you can free and buy your freedom. And hence if a slave run, it can be you can kill you, otherwise he can kill you slave. I don't know why because Quran give you right to contract. And now he asked me that you cannot marry to non-Muslim slave. Yes, obviously it's a condition because marriage is not like a half it's not like a concubine which is a half marriage. Marriage requires both of equal. If you marry a non-Muslim girl, then what would be the contradiction between you is you uh, tell your children to monotheism and he tells polytheism, then children will be confused and maybe become an atheist. That's why for the issue of Tawheed, Quran says don't marry to a non-Muslim until she accepts Islam, even in the case of slave. And you told me that in Islamic what we can say slavery, it's used like an object. Bro, I have shown you the screen in which a Frenchman, I can, if you say, I can show you again a Frenchman not who was not a Muslim. He says that Muslim amongst slavery amongst Muslim is better than any other slavery. He agreed that slavery is not used as an object in Islamic because it's not a public property. It's only give Islam only give right to marry to relationship with master, not any other person, even not even son. Master sons cannot be have relation with them, and prostitution is obviously is banned. And I think I have to move my slide on my slide now. The topic is Islam promotes slavery or sex slavery? The topic is contradiction because slavery and sex slavery is two different words. In which sex slavery, I have shown you the definition of sex slavery. This is prohibited in Islam. And slavery, we can say only concubine in Islam, or right hand possession is one of the best word for you what you can say. Because Islam didn't Islam restricted, regulated, and then what we can say, not compulsory the slavery. It means it's not compulsory on you to make a slave after war. You can free them, you can take them ransom money. And now move to the main topic. Does Islam promote slavery? Because the rape and these things is not in topic, otherwise I show you. There is a verse in Quran which say وَهَدَيْنَاهُ النَّجْدَيْنِ, and have shown him the two ways. What is the two ways? The right and the wrong. In भाई फारूक भाई, ये जिबिल्लत को इंग्लिश में क्या बोल सकते हैं हम? हेलो हेलो
हाँ भाई, क्या हुआ?
इनके ये जिबिल्लत को इंग्लिश में हम क्या आसान वर्ड बोल सकते हैं?
जिल्लत
जिबिल्लत नहीं, हाँ, instinct. In human instinct there is two ways. Either it could be wrong, means immoral, or moral, and Allah shows both of them, which give us free will. And verse number 11 say fala qutahamal aqaba, but he has not broken through the difficult path. Means on right path, on moral path, it's difficult to make on walk on it. But on verse number 12, Allah says wama adrakamal aqaba, and what can make you know what has the difficult path. Means Allah says, do you know what is the moral, what we can say, moral road in easy metaphorically. And verse number 30 is a fakku raqaba, it is the freeing of slave. Here is not written freeing a Muslim slave, freeing a non-Muslim slave. Here written is here is freeing a slave. It means Allah says indirectly Islam means freeing a slave. Means if you free the slave, you have on morally on moral path. Now move to
भाई,
the next.
टाइम हो गया है भाई, 5 मिनट हो गए।
2 मिनट, ये टॉपिक से रिलेटेड वो टॉपिक नहीं आ रही थी।
जल्दी करिए भाई, जल्दी करिए।
एकदम जल्दी. And if we see Mary, Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam teaches, they say, he says, marriage is a part of my sunnah, and whoever does not follow Mary sunnah, nothing to be with me. It means what? Thus, Quran gave you two ways in what debunking Islam say. You can have a relation with your what we can say wife and slave, but prefer and sunnah option is what Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said. It's marriage, not a slave, not a concubine, not a what we can say prostitution. These are things are not recommended by Prophet. Now, if debunking Islam want to prove Islam promotes slavery, he can clearly show me a hadith or Quranic verse in which Allah says or Prophet says, slavery is my sunnah, and whoever followed them is on my sunnah. Clearly show me. Otherwise, if you
अरे
can
भाई हो
tell
गया है
Islam,
टाइम.
just minute. Can I take?
Debunking
Okay,
Islam.
okay. I skip this, but only this page I will explain it. Only this question.
अरे भाई
Sorry for it's my mistake. When if debunking Islam wants to prove that Islam promotes slavery because it's the main topic our, then he show me that ayat or Quran or hadith, and now my second evidence, it means third evidence is that when this is a comparison, best comparison, what we can say, in which Islam never promotes slavery. When a man and woman cut off their relationship, that is divorce, Allah dislike it, and there is a Sahih hadith in which Prophet Allah says Allah dislike the divorce. And when a man and woman men cut off their relationship with a slave, that is freeing her, either would be Muslim or non-Muslim, Allah like it according to Quran. And I show you these ayats and show me the show coming on the topic, or give my four questions answer debunking Islam, that Islam promotes slavery or not, because I show you more than two
ठीक है भाई हो
more than
गया.
okay. Now
Debunking
coming to the
Islam.
topic.
Can you hear me? Debunking Islam.
Hi, I can hear you. Yep.
Yeah. So
Yep.
the rebuttal. So the round of rebuttal has been over. Now the round of 10-minute vote for question has been gone.
Sure. Okay, so we're going to ask some questions, yeah?
Questions. So you're gonna play it like a rapid fire or what?
We can do it how he wants. We can do it how you want.
Okay,
ask me.
मोनोथियस भाई ask me है ना, ठीक है ना?
टाइम ज्यादा हो रहा है तो टॉपिक से रिलेटेड ही रखो क्वेश्चन.
हाँ, टॉपिक से रिलेटेड ही रहेगा. We should have to be inside the topic, the bound of the this debate. Okay, so the time has been gone from 4:43 to 4:53. For both of you, you can ask questions. Okay.
Okay, so
No problem.
Okay, so go ahead.
Okay, so I'll ask a really, really simple question. Is it right to own a human being against their will as property, as Islam allows, and as I clearly demonstrated it does? Yeah. Is it moral? Is it allowed? Is it okay to do that? I'd like you to justify it for me.
For what? क्या चीज? Tell me.
Okay. Do you know what? If you can't understand that, don't worry. Can you show me where women consent to being taken against their will after a Muslim has killed her husband and willingly signs up to what you call concubinage, but everyone else on the planet would call rape? Show me where the women give consent, please. Just show me one verse, show me one hadith where the women consent.
Okay. Let me show. Your question is that is woman consent or not? Yes.
Yes. Show me where the female slave consents to sex with the Muslim master. Yeah. Show me.
Okay, don't worry.
I'm not.
See, there is a verse in Quran in which Allah says, "Wallazina yattabi'unal kitaba mimma malakat aymanukum fakatibuhum." It means contract. If your slave make contracts, wishes contracts, then you must make contract. Allah,
You don't understand the verse. You don't understand
Allah
that verse.
24:33. Then make a contract with them. Allah says make a contract with them. According to this, this is an command and this is an obligation. If your slave make demand for contract, you must be take a contract for them into a contract. And if it is rape, then Allah says you may on your choice. On your choice you can make or contract or not.
If you
Now see the
read,
practical example. Just 1 minute. Give me. I show you I show you practical example of Hazrat Juwairiya Radhiyallahu anha. Do you know when Sabit bin Qais Shamam or her cousin, she enter into a contract who Juwairiya Radhiyallahu anha, when she becomes slave in his part, Sabit bin Qais, she enter into a contract with them and she was very beautiful. What does it mean? She was very beautiful, no one can leave them easily. But when she asked them for contract, there is in Sahih Hadith in Abu Dawud, I'll show you a number. When she entered into a contract, she asked them to what we can say for freedom.
I suggest you read the hadith you've got on the screen because it's not saying what you're saying.
Okay, Juwairiya, daughters of Al-Samam Al-Sabit bin Al-Mustalik, fell to the loss of Sabit bin Qais bin Shamam or her cousin. She entered into a contract to purchase her freedom. She was very beautiful. I have highlighted on them. She was very beautiful and most attractive with their eyes, and it's not easy to leave them.
My question,
brother, first here, don't interrupt. First here, she was very beautiful. It means what? Brother, listen carefully. She was very beautiful. It means no one can leave them easily. But when she enter into a contract, Sabit bin Qais know that this is first an obligation of Quran that we should make the contract with them.
To free them. It's got nothing to do with it. Okay, can I respond?
Just 1 minute. And do you know it's first in and moving to the next slide, my next slide. 1 second. When she enter into a contract, but she have no money to buy her freedom, then he come to Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and Prophet then give them two choice. You can read in on Hadith. I can marry you, and also I what we can say free and pay off your freedom from Baitul Mal Zakat, and Prophet then married with her, and she's become her wife. And do you know, you said that it is against his consent. It means when Juwairiya Razullah Anha enter into a contract, she is not want to live with Sabit bin Qais. He is not what we can say. Sabit bin Qais is not make contact, then it is called rape, because he is not with what we can say against his consent. Live with her against with his consent. But Quran say it's a first.
Okay, can you wrap it up now, please? This is going on. This is a speech. You're meant to just answer the question, and you've done it very poorly. The question I asked you was very simple. Show me where these women enter into a contract of sex. So when a man takes a female as a slave, a contract called Milk Amin is established. I want you to show me where the female agrees to enter into a sexual contract with her captor. That's all you have to show me. You're showing me about freeing slaves, which I've already dealt with. I'm asking you to show me where it says women willingly have sex with these men as part of their Milk Amin contract. That's all you need to show me. If you can't do it, then you're proving my point that these women are not consenting to sex, because what woman would? If I came and killed somebody, a man, and took his wife, would she sleep with me? Everybody knows she wouldn't. She'd be repulsed by me. But apparently in Islam, every woman falls in love with every Muslim who decapitates a husband. This is insane. Show me where they give the consent. That's all I want to see.
Brother, I have shown you Quran ayat in which Allah says, if anyone, let me show again it.
It's about freeing slaves, what you're showing. You're not.
It's related to contract. If your slave is want to making contract, then make contract with them. It's first in Islam. It means if listen. If a slave is not want to live with you,
it says it right there for eventual emancipation. It's about freeing slaves. This isn't about having sex with slaves.
You ask me that it is not rape. It is not it. I have answer of that. You suppose that master and slave relationship is a rape, but it's not a rape. It's what we can say. If Islam give half woman right, half wife right of masters to master, and
where does she agree? Where does the female agree?
Listen. If she, yes, that's why I'm showing you this ayat. If what we can say, if female slave and who make contract, what does it mean? It means that she is not want to live with you, and otherwise if you live with you without his consent, then it is called rape. But Quran says it's you make contract with them.
Okay.
It means it's first you must make it contract. I have to give you practical. Listen. I have to give you practical example of Sabit bin Qais. Sabit bin Qais, it's not rape at all. She is slave with full, what we can say, consent with Muslims. And I have shown you the Frenchman which says what we can say, slavery in Islam is better than any other slavery because it's restricted, regulated, and not compulsory. And what is your second question? It's related to topic. It's not
you
rape.
You haven't dealt with my first question. You keep going on about a verse which is
it's not rape. It's not rape at all.
Don't interrupt me. You got annoyed when I interrupted you, so don't interrupt me. I asked you a very clear question. Tell me and show me where a slave is giving consent to enter into a sexual contract with a captor. You keep showing me a verse that is about freeing a slave. This is not about a slave giving consent.
Means you cannot make
you don't know what you're talking about.
Listen. Freeing means you cannot make sex with them because when she free, you cannot make with relationship with them. And Quran says if she make contract, if she wants to make contract, then make a contract with them. It's obligation for according to Quran.
No, it doesn't say it in the Quran.
We cannot reject.
It doesn't say it in the Quran. You don't seem to understand the verses you're quoting.
I have shown you.
I'm going to move on because I can't keep going over the same question with you.
Debunking me. Anything else or kuch related to topic? Because I have shown you practical example of Sabit bin Qais and Hazrat Juwairiya, which is mostly attractive.
You haven't. Okay.
If Sabit bin Qais never enter into a contract, then it is called rape. If Sabit bin Qais never enter into a contract, then it is called rape because it is against his, what we can say, consent of Juwairiya Raziyallahu Anha. I have shown you. Now what you can say, it's rape or not?
I can't keep asking the first question. I hope everyone heard that. He didn't answer the question.
Brother, okay, the time is over. The time of the question answer is over. That is what 10 minutes for both, and now it is over.
Okay, now it's my time. Quickly, I will cover now debunking.
5 minutes both for conclusion now. 5 minutes for conclusion, the last. Okay.
First, I could ask them some question.
Okay, your time for asking question. Okay.
Firstly, I have shared my screen. Please enter this.
10 minutes for asking question. Okay. When you say, I will start your time. ठीक है ना भाई? जैसे कहोगे time शुरू कर देंगे.
Okay. Just 1 minute.
What's happening? What's going on here?
I have shared my screen.
ठीक है ना, शुरू करें टाइम।
Share my screen. Please enter my screen.
Can you see it?
Okay, no problem.
Okay, you'll need to hurry up because I need to get going soon.
अरे भाई शुरू करें।
Just 1 minute. मैं
You
direct
just
लगा दूंगा
ask,
screen क्योंकि
ask your
इसमें
question. You're meant to ask me a question.
Yes.
You answer me a question.
Suppose in future slavery is reestablished by all over the world, what would you choose? What would you like? Islamic slavery on the first hand, and on the other hand un-Islamic slavery. In this, no such right of marriage and what we can say food, preservation of life, castration and beaten. What would you choose?
What would I choose? You're asking me what type of slavery I would choose.
Yes, tell one, two. I give you two options. Quickly choose one. Don't go in deep.
I would not choose Islamic slavery. Okay? Because
But suppose in the world all are equal and it's not unilateral. No. You don't. You are getting out of my option. I ask you if the world is reestablished. World. I am taking the word world. And what will you choose? What would you choose? Tell me fast.
I would not choose Islamic slavery. I just made that clear to you.
But world is practicing. Suppose world is practicing. What will you choose?
This is a stupid hypothetical question that makes no sense. What are you talking about?
I give you two options. On the first hand, Islamic slavery, and on the other hand, un-Islamic slavery. What will you choose first?
I will choose un-Islamic slavery. And I'll show you why.
Oh, it means you oppress them. Oh my God, debate is over. Oh my God, it means you cut off their testicles of slavery.
Listen,
because in un-Islamic slavery there are no right of this.
Shush, you asked me a question. I'm going to show you what I would choose non-Islamic.
No, it's my time. It's my time. You chooses. Listen. You choose un-Islamic slavery. It means you oppress on. And don't tell me you are immoral. And now my second question is that.
This is pathetic. Just 1 minute. No. You asked me a question. You answered it.
I have asked you. You choose the oppressed option. And my second question is, you tell me comment. Sure, let's. What you tell me? Sure, let's look at sex slavery. My contention is owning another person is property immoral, and sex slavery is rape. Prove that it's rape. according to Quran and this ayat which I have shown you. It's obligation to make contact if she wishes.
Right, this isn't your
Prove that
show.
it's rape.
You asked me a question.
Prove
Can
that it's rape.
I would like to answer the question.
Okay.
Okay.
Fast.
You've said to me, would I choose Islamic slavery or non-Islamic slavery? I said Islamic slavery. And
No, moderator देखो ये नाटक कर रहा है, नाटक कर रहा है, वो एक वापस किया.
What's going on here? This is ridiculous.
Don't go. My first question is choose an un-Islamic slavery, and now my second question is whether you prove that it's rape according to Quran 24/33.
I would like.
You must make contract. You must make contract. Does Hazrat Juwairiya Maazallah get raped by Sabit bin Qais because he's not concerned to live with her, with him? Sorry, with him.
What are you talking?
Silent.
In Islam, it allows non-consensual rape of female. I don't know what you're talking about.
But the Quran gives you right to contract. Then how can you claim that it's rape?
There is no contract. The female slave does not sign any contract. You're lying. You're lying.
I think you are running to my question. Let's move.
No, you're not making any sense because you can't seem to understand that in Islam, female slave is against you. She doesn't understand. You don't understand your religion. You don't understand what you're talking about.
It's compulsory according to my religion. You show me the un-Islamic slavery contract, you cannot find these types of rights.
Right.
Tell me the third question.
Oh my God. I will show you
What, according to you, slavery is immoral, है ना?
2 minutes left. I'm sorry, because I've had enough of this. This is ridiculous.
What are the time को ये भाग रहा है?
You've got 2 minutes left.
No, you're wasting my time.
No, you're wasting my time. You're asking me. You're wasting my
My third question.
And you're not allowing me.
Hello, moderator.
हाँ भाई
My
सुन रहे
third question is according to ये भाग रहा है, मेरा टाइम दिखा रहा है.
क्या कह रहा है?
जवाब नहीं दे रहा बराबर. मैं बोल रहा हूँ वो कुरान की आयत से साबित करो 24/33 इट्स रेप. ये नहीं बता पा रहा जबकि वो फर्ज है इस्लाम में. कॉन्ट्रैक्ट.
Brother debunking, give the answer please of the ayat of 24 or
There's no contract that slaves sign when they become slaves. And the force to slavery is sign contracts. Showing verses. I can't respond to something that doesn't make any sense. He's not making sense.
Okay, leave it. I know you cannot have answer.
cannot
Now
have
my third question is according to you. No, brother, you give wrong answer. It's not rape according to contract. Because it's first. Read the wording of Quran. Read the wording of Quran. Then make contract with them. It's not you should or you what we can say.
What contract is slaves
Contract means purchasing their freedom. If slave have not money, then what she do is that they take
So you're
from
trying
the
to say that a slave, you can steal a human being and then give them freedom if they're able to.
No. My third question is related to that, brother. My third question is related to that. In Islam, it's
I can't hear you.
according to you, it's immoral to owning property, to owning slave.
Yes, don't you agree with me?
What if Aristotle it's natural? You human can be created as slave. Past philosopher, because past people even atheists.
So,
What we can say justify this. Maybe your father or grandfather have a slave because it's very common.
no, in the country
You
I
can
live,
tell father, grandfather. You can say your
only ended 50
Listen.
years ago. So you listen, Abdul. You're making no sense. You make yourself look stupid. Now, let me respond to your ridiculous question. Yes? You think that slavery is moral?
No, I don't. But past philosophers justify that, and you have no religion, no morality. I have shown. No, I am not here, but past philosophers justify.
What has past philosophers from 2,000 years ago got to do with now?
They are not religious persons.
You're comparing philosophers, human beings, to gods. Are you serious? Aristotle was a human being from 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago. What do you got to do with these commands that allow slavery today? What have they got to do with each other? Please explain.
Enter my screen, please. Enter my screen, please.
No.
Why?
Ask the question. No, because this isn't your show. This isn't your show.
Because you leave my core question in my first slide. Listen
to me, Abdul. You haven't been sent to justify slavery in some right moral. Why are you asking my question? Why is slavery moral?
It's my time to ask you a question.
No, you've had more than 10
minutes.
Answer the question.
For that, you open my screen first. Because I have asked you more. Slavery is immoral, but past people justify that.
So what?
So what? Your grandfather immoral. You can say that.
My grandfather never owned slaves.
Maybe because past people have slavery.
So what?
My second slide. Please show my second slide. This is not in this question. You are failed to answer me. It's not rape at all.
A question. It doesn't matter.
Yes. Tell me one sentence. Tell me fast. Does the war and normal situation are same? Yes or no? Tell me fast.
Right. I'm muting him, and I'm going to answer his ridiculous question. Okay. So monarchist is asking a question about why slavery being okay in the past and it's not okay. Why is it not okay now? It's simple. Human beings learn that things are bad. Once upon a time, we didn't know that slavery was the immoral abomination that it is today. Appealing to the past doesn't justify now. Humans learned that slavery was wrong. Allah didn't. Allah never knew that slavery was wrong, which is why he would allow it today. So the question to the Muslim is, why do you accept Islam as being immoral? If you say it's immoral, then you agree with me and disagree with Allah. I am here saying that slavery is immoral. That's what I'm saying.
ठीक है भाई, टाइम हो गया. ठीक है, खत्म करिए भाई.
Time हो गया. Humans to justify the actions of his God. So can he answer the question? Monotheist, you heard everything I said, so answer the question.
अरे ठीक है भाई, अब कंक्लूजन का टाइम है. खत्म हो गया टाइम क्वेश्चन आंसर का.
ओके, नो प्रॉब्लम.
कंक्लूजन देके खत्म करिए. पहले कौन देगा कंक्लूजन? Debunking, please give your last conclusion of 5 minutes.
Okay. Concluding is very simple. As we've seen, slavery was so integral to the whole practice of legal manuals to detail the rules for buying, selling, and treating slaves, based on Muhammad and his companions' example. Islam's text permit the use of slaves as a source of labor, these are the taken for the purpose and carried off against their will. Be never find for it. Allah permits and encourages slavery and is allowed today. There is no text calling for its abolishment, which is why Islamic cultures never abolished slavery. Islam's text facilitated the growth of slavery because Allah says it's okay to take slaves as the spoils of war to be enjoyed. Slaves in Islam are rewarded for their victory, from which the Muslim can then use for personal benefit or sell as a source of wealth. This shows there was a great incentive to acquire slaves because of the benefits the Muslim got from it. So, in conclusion, yes, Islam permits and promotes slavery. It never outlaws it. It never put a time limit on it, which is why under the conditions of the Sharia today, and without pressure from the West, Islamic slavery would still happen, and it would happen again. I'm finished. And nothing Monophist has said has refuted anything I said. He refuted nothing. Everything you saw proves, by the way, that Islam would allow slavery today. There's absolutely no question about it. There's no contract any female signs when she's stolen against her will. The gentleman, Monophist, tried to show a verse to prove that it does, but the verse he was showing was referring to a slave asking the master for freedom. And as I explained, that's not binding on the Muslim.
Brother is not in the room actually.
Free Muslim. Excuse me. Can you stop interrupting me?
He is not in the room.
He's back now.
Yeah, now he's here.
He's back. Okay.
Yeah, go.
I'm finished.
Now it's my time.
What I will say just before I go, thank you to everyone that did listen. I'm apologize that it was a bit of a mess. Things will get better. I think that it's hard to debate with someone that doesn't really understand the topic. But he was polite. I hope people were respectful in the comments. But yeah, it wasn't quite the debate I was hoping for. But it is what it is. So anyway, I'll give it over to Monotheist to finish off, and we can leave. Okay, you can start your conclusion if you'd like.
Okay. First of all, this is my first debate in fact, it's not in my mother language. If I done any mistake, just forget that. Now come to the conclusion. First of all, the topic is Islam promote slavery and sex slavery? It's I first of all differentiate that sex slavery is prohibited in Islam. There is no what we can say chance in Islam to have sex slavery, and promotion for the promotion of sex slavery, Islam never promote. I have shown you the verses from Quran, Hadith, and which the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said marriage is my sunnah. Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam never said that what we can say, yeah, slavery is my sunnah and follow them and don't follow them and don't what we can say freed them. Prophet says for freed them, and even Quran also says. They never say that these never free the non-Muslim slave. Only Quran says free them slave. And if you read the Quran chapter number 19, you will clearly see that Allah is promoting to free the slave. Fakku Raqaba, who here written is Fakku Raqaba. And if you because this is the topic of this is the topic of debate, and then I have an Islamic debunking Islam never give any counter view on that. And after that, I have proved that it's not rape. What we can say, slavery have full right to give contract and enter into a contract, and it's not its obligation to what we can say, we cannot reject that contract, and it's not rape at all. And after that, I have asked Islamic debunking Islam that what will you choose? On the one hand, you have Islamic slavery. On the other hand, you have un-Islamic slavery. He chooses un-Islamic slavery, which is fully based on oppressed. And he said me in comment, I have what we can say, I have suppose it is immoral, and he chooses an Islamic slavery. That's why he's called Islamophobe, because he what we can say hate Islam at all in very much. And I have covered these topics, means is Islam promotes slavery, and I have shown you the fatwa and what we can say Jamiatul Hind, in which the ulama condemn the condemn the ISIS terrorist organization which promotes the slavery. And after that, I have shown the slavery between Islamic and Islamic. I have give the what we can say comparison, and debunking Islam never. I have asked 4 questions in my first slide. Debunking Islam never answered it because he knew that if he answer of that question, he is stuck in in Islam in his argument, because Islam, if both answer is yes, you cannot say it's no, because the what we can say slave is coming to your ownership. It's your what we can say uh, opponent. It's if Muslim not win the battle, then he slaves the rape the Muslims people. And in the non-Muslim culture, there is no contract, there is no what we can say no concept of mukadaba contract. Quran just say this is fully based on rape, and Muslim are stuck in that, but Muslim are win. That's why they have slavery. And I have give the example unilaterally cannot, it cannot be freed. I have give the example of French at the age of, sorry, background se awaaz aa rahi hai. Mute your mic. I have give the example of Newfoundland age at the time of what we can say France. Unilaterally what we can say we cannot ban the slavery. Otherwise, the France re-established the slavery because it's not unilaterally. And if Prophet Muhammad SAW said that at one time you cut off the slavery, you banned the slavery, then no, why why we follow your Quran? We are non-Muslim. We are following ourselves. We making slaves, etc., etc. Then Muslim are other stuck on that. And Quran says, "La yukallifullahu nafsan illa wusaha." Allah never what we can say burden on a soul more than his capacity. This is more than his capacity that a man before Islam purchasing slavery of 1 lakh. I just use example 1 lakh dollar, and after that, what we can say after that Islam says free all of them, and this is loss of at the time of that Sahaba, Tabain, what we can say Sahaba. And at that age of Hazrat Umar, after the age of Hazrat Umar Caliph, almost all the slaveries are abolished by Muslims. Uh, I have shown the riwayat of Tariq al-Tabri and what we can say Riyazus Solihin commentary. Debunking Islam never say on that thing, and they only claim that it's rape and it's immoral. I have shown the Frenchman who is called himself, who is not a Muslim. He said that Islamic slavery is better than any other slavery in the world. And also, I have shown the Aristotle, a non-religious person. He said that slavery is natural human being could be a slave or free. Past people justify that slavery. We are not. We are what Islam do. My last conclusion is that Islam never promotes slavery. Islam restricted or regulated, and then not compulsory the slavery. Means it's not first to make them slave. You can free them. You can take them ransom money or enter into a contract. That's my all which I want to tell you. My time is over.
Okay, that's it. What I'm going to do, so